Hey guys, Infidel 1258 here. Today we're going to talk about soul-bound reward cards and their print rates. Are they being issued too quickly at the highest levels and not quickly enough at the lowest levels? What would this mean for attention to the game if the reward cards get issued to a point where you have max copies far too quickly? Will it discourage ongoing attention, investment, and participation in this space? Or is it a good thing, and is it okay if we get max level copies within a few months? I want to talk about this detailed and I guess reoccurring comment from a variety of different people in this space here today with you and my members only. And if you want to be present for these live conversations, consider becoming a member that supports the YouTube channel, and then you can be there for the live events that are private. Have an amazing day. God bless. Hey guys, Infidel 1258 here. Hope you're doing well. I am seeing on the title screen here 2 concurrent viewers and 2 likes, so thank you for that. I'm not sure who's out there, but if you are actively watching, I know I said I'd start at 10:30 and we're 7 minutes early. So if you tuned in and you kind of got it in the background, I'm going to get started here. But if you're present and you've got some questions or comments, as always, happy to get into it with you. Gathering. Thoughts on the new soulbound card drop rates? Too many at higher levels and too low drop rates at bronze. I think only 20% pull rate for my bronze account. 20% pull rate for your, so you're getting 2 out of every 10 packs, or sorry, two out of every 10 chests is giving you a card. And then sometimes I guess they would be multiplied, right? Because it's a 20% drop rate. See, that's interesting. This is my first, I've heard conversations around this from other creators. I haven't articulated or even like wrestled with this idea yet. So that you'll be hearing my first thoughts on this right now, Gathering. I want to say one counterbalance that we have to remember is that, you know, when we talk about, as your question alludes to, the new drop rates, and you talk about too many at higher levels and too low at bronze, and then you even show me a 20% data for the pull rate at bronze. We have to counterbalance those, let's say, questions with the reality that each chest now has the opportunity, while it's maybe only a 20% chance to populate a card, there's some other probability that I don't actually know how to measure. Maybe you guys do, and if you do, help me understand this, but recognize 20% chance to get a card, and then some other probability as to multipliers of that card value, right? So you can get not just one reward card from a chest, but you can get many. And even at bronze, I think that's true. If you know that that's not true, help me understand that. But if you get a Coastal Century in your loot chest, which is in one of the new reward cards, you could get 2 or 3 out of one chest. And so I would say that I want to know the numbers better, is what I'm saying. I don't understand the math exactly. But when we talk about how there's maybe there's less reward cards going to the Bronze League level, I wanna pull that data apart a bit and ask the follow-up question. Okay, maybe you're right, and maybe that's a problem, or maybe you're wrong, because maybe the multipliers that need to be remembered in this new format of card rewards is going to offset or augment or, you know, compensate that difference. I don't actually know. And so I feel like the data requires more data. So the conversation requires more data. I don't just want to know how many chests out of 10 are going to give you a card. I want to know how many chests out of those ones that have cards. I want to know how many of those are going to have multiple copies of a card. And then does that lead you to a place where you're getting roughly 33 chests out of 10 are equating to a card? Because if you get 2 chests out of 10 that give you a card, or 1 in 5 chests gives you a card, but let's say half of those half of those cards that you are receiving have a multiplier of at least 2, then that means you're getting 3 chests out of 10, 3 cards out of 10. And that would be more in keeping with what we historically had recognized, or had recently, I guess, established. And that's starting the conversation at the bronze level. And then there's a separate conversation at the champ or the higher league, the max levels, because you also spoke about how there's too many too quickly. And I heard, who did I hear talking about this? I heard, maybe it was, I can't remember who. I saw somebody talking about how you could get, it was Tails. Tails was saying how he's already got a Silver League deck of these reward cards, and that's from one season of playing Champ. There's a tremendous gulf between silver deck, or like an okay silver deck, and like a true max level deck. So my point is, if you want to say that you got like a silver deck of these new reward cards, that might mean that some of them are actually bronze levels. That might mean that some of them are, truly silver levels. It could be functional at silver, or is it a true silver deck? Is a distinction I want to draw. But then also the difference between, like on a common card, in silver you can play, I think, 2, 3, 4. You can play level 5 commons in Silver League. And so that means if you got a Silver League deck, you've got 60 BCX of this guy in the first 2 weeks. That's impressive. How much of that is luck? How much of that is, actually going to be the story for every player? I want to know that too, the data around that. And then lastly, there's a huge difference between 60 BCX in 2 weeks and 400 BCX of that card over, let's say, if you just extrapolate, you're talking over 6 seasons, 6 or 7 seasons, you're going to lead up to there. That would be a problem if that's happening. What I'm saying is, I feel like we need more data to understand if that's truly the trajectory we're on, or if it's in fact, an anomalous, set of, because with smaller data sets, you start to see anomalies that aren't maybe consistent, or you can't necessarily extrapolate from small data sets always. So I guess I have maybe some, like I said earlier about that word skepticism, I have some skepticism around this conversation, and I want to know more about the data. I want to understand how often multipliers are happening. I want to understand if it's essentially in keeping with previous, when you factor in the multipliers, when you factor in the reduced number of times a card is populating, is it still roughly the same? And then at the champion level 2, are we on a trajectory where champ players are going to have max copies in like 6 or 7 seasons? That would amount to, I think that would be a problem, because that would amount to like a 3 to 4 month, let's say 3 to 6 month window wherein you're going to receive max level cards. And if these cards are truly going to be here for 1 to 2 years, that would be a problem. I did see that Tails' conclusion, or part of his, suggestion would be that would be a problem for, I guess, the attractiveness of the game, because it would undermine the fact that these rewards are there for you. I don't agree with that, I guess, suggestion, because I would argue that you're going to want more of these cards than just one copy, if it's possible. In the same way that I bought 346 copies of the Venari Heatsmith, and many of them are max level. I would love to have many copies of, the Coastal Sentry or the Swamp Spitter. So if you do at champion level get more cards than ever, and you're going to populate or max those out within 3 to 6 months, that's probably too quickly, and maybe the math needs to be tweaked. But I want more data before I really, give a final opinion on that. But that's a great question. Thank you for dropping that one, Gathering. Paul says, check Aggie's comments on 956 in the Mav chat about possible new movie studio pack. I did hear about this, Paul. We can talk about that. I just want to see if there's anything else on this before I move to that movie studio conversation. I want to see if there's any other comments from you guys about this issue of the drop rates at bronze or champion and the reward cards. Paul says all are 33%. I thought, yeah, that's the way it used to be, at least. And then didn't they? I think the drop rate for cards was 33%, and then they introduced merits, and I believe the drop rate for cards actually went to 23%. I think. If anybody has that data, I'd love to see that. I'm pretty sure it is 23%, not 33% anymore, because of the introduction of merits. But again, I might be wrong about that. And then again, if the drop rate per chest has gone lower now that we have these new rewards, remember, you always have to then say, well, but we have multipliers now. We never had multipliers before. Eli, good to see you, buddy. Gathering says 39 cards in 292 chests. Okay. Only one card per bronze chest possible. Okay. So, I mean, that's good data. But again, everything's so anecdotal, right? Should be a 33% chance across the board, he said. Wasn't that modified gathering? Wasn't there a modifier introduced when we introduced the merits into regular rank battle daily and season rewards? I think if we dropped by 10% the ability to get a card. So I think it might be 23%. Maybe I'm wrong though. My end of season champ chests were garbage. Seems I'm a part of the minority. Champ chests, hey, and they were garbage. That's too bad. That really sucks. I had a pretty good drop. I had diamond, but I had very few cards. I don't even think did I record it? I did record it. I had some pretty cool cards. I got 3 legendaries. I got some epics. I didn't get any multipliers of the legendaries, but still I got 3 legendaries. Yeah, exactly. There's a chart for this. Yeah, send the link, please. Okay, link. Okay, where to go? There you go. Hey, Rick, good to see you, buddy. I have 2 SBRC at level 3 so far. I don't know what SBRC is, but I'm assuming it's one of the cool new reward cards. Level 3. It must be. Well, how could you have 2 of them? You wouldn't have 2 at level 3. Well, maybe you would. Soulbound. Okay, I got you. I got 2 Soulbound reward cards at level 3. Yeah, that's cool. Are they? They must be commons. I would wager. Seems like the diamond and champ players are getting too many cards per chest. Bronze isn't getting a 33% card rate drop so far. Yeah, I hear you. Yeah, too small of a sample size is my first reaction. Now, I don't want to dismiss it because I take that data that you've given seriously, gathering, but I also, and also I take Tails' anecdotal comments about how many he's getting seriously. I originally said that I thought these reward cards should be issued on like a 3 or 6 month window. And I said that because I want to have this constant carrot in front of us where these reward cards aren't just for the next 2 years you're looking at the same things. It would be ideal, in my opinion, if they could be received and then actually made liquid, right? Because if they're issued for 3 to 6 months, there's a 3 to 6 month exciting period where you're getting these types of cards, and then a whole new, in 3 or 6 months later, you're getting a whole new set, which is always this exciting moment in Splinterlands. So from the excitement and the advertising kind of and the kind of exuberance in our community that come out of a new issuance, I think that's all valuable and it's desirable. And then what was the second part of that picture? Oh yeah, then the cards, once they're out of circulation, the cards then become liquid and you can actually sell them, and that then becomes an opportunity for players who have been playing for the last 3 to 6 months. So I think that's beneficial. So to me, there is lots of positive for making a smaller window of the issuance. So if they are being printed at such a dramatically faster rate, maybe that needs to be tweaked, especially if it is really going to fill up on the champ. I almost don't know if I would say it has to be nerfed at champ and it has to be improved at bronze. I want more data, but that's possible. We've seen that in the past, and that's possible. And then if we're on a trajectory where at the highest levels you can get a 3 or 6 month window and you're done with the deck, I almost think that means we should just retune when we issue more reward cards. But then that starts a whole conversation about what would power creep look like and how challenging it would be for the team to develop a whole new set of 40 plus, reward cards every 6 months. If that's sustainable and possible, and we can navigate the power creep concerns, I would deem that preferable because of the 2 things I alluded to. One, it's this constant fresh carrot in front of us, dragging us into more time, more play, more, enjoyment of the game. And then it's also this financial opportunity for the players who have enjoyed the game for the last 3 to 6 months because they start to see those cards being made liquid once they're off the market. And then it's even a DEC burn consideration because we know that there's going to be some element of commitment of DEC to the new reward card in order to make it transferable. They talked about how, look, these new reward cards are going to be made transferable, but in order to do so, you're going to need to commit some sort of DC into it. I think that's a burn mechanic. And so that's obviously a good thing too. So it strikes me as like not necessarily a bad thing if we're giving these cards out faster than we previously thought, but the devil's in the details and I want to know more data. Oops. Opening my paint over here. Technically, let's see. So you got three Soulbound reward cards, but Wily and Gold Foil Wily kind of don't stack. Gotcha. Man, Gold Foil Wily is a good one. I like that Wily one a lot, especially at the higher levels. Someone already has a max Gold Foil Uset. See, that's almost less surprising. Is it less surprising? It's just that, you know, of all the accounts that play, there's always some anomaly where, you know, somebody went, like, think of it this way, metaphorically. Every week, someone wins the lottery, right? Like someone, it's beyond likely that you will win the lottery, but every week someone wins the lottery. And I feel like when I read this comment from Rick, someone already has a max gold foil Uset. I'm kind of not surprised. You guys might not know this, but I took psychology in university. And one of the things my teacher taught me, which was shocking at the time, we're in a classroom of 30 or 40 people in a small college in my area. And he goes, what would you say if I told you two of you are going to have the exact same birthday? And of course we're like, what do you mean? Like, that's totally unlikely. There's 365 days in the year. Like, of course, that's like, there's only 30 of us here. How could we possibly? But it actually is the case that that's very, very likely. And so I feel as though that conversation is analogous with the idea that someone is going to really hit the lottery. They're going to get that max level gold foil Uset. And because look, it's not just Uset. It's actually, you know, you look at all the legendaries, right? Hang on, we go all cards. You look at all the different legendaries that do exist that are currently being in issuance. We got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. I think there's, if I didn't just miss one, I think there's 12 current gold or legendaries, and then there's 200,000 accounts playing. And so you start to recognize that, like, every single chest, every single account, every single day, there's these opportunities for that unlikely event to happen. And it makes it actually exceedingly likely that someone's going to have that opportunity. And sure enough, the teacher was right. We did have two people in the class that had the exact same day. In a group of 30, the odds are that you will. I get only having one card in the chest for bronze, but at least drop at 1 in 3 chests, please. Maybe I'm just having bad luck from a history. I'd like to see that conversation in the next couple seasons gathering. And I think you'd do well to do a video on, like, really highlighting and tracking that progress. I would enjoy that anyways. The Magic, I want to host you on stream. Yeah, you guys should do that. You guys would be an amazing conversation for sure. Definitely make it happen. I want to enjoy that conversation, Rick. Suelis, good to see you, buddy. Appreciate you for popping by. Thank you. Spreading the cards out would have been much better approach, in my opinion. I can see the value in doing like that 1 or 2 year thing that they've alluded to, but they've also said they've been pretty, let's say, how do I say this? They've said it's going to be a 1 or 2 year window for these reward cards, but they've also said, I feel as though the tone has been, we think, let's see. It's not, these are going to be out for 40, for 24 months. Like after touring, it's not been this like white paper type approach where we know it's going to be X and it'll never be less. In fact, it feels very much like it's like, we need to see. And so I think they're going to be paying attention to, if you do a video like that, gathering, covering that and kind of speaking into that. And if we already have Tails doing stuff like this, and I think even After Sound covering this sort of conversation also, it's going to be this thing that becomes, well, what do we want? And they'll they'll move targets. It might be the case that we land on something where it's a shorter timeline and we only get 6 months of these cards, and then we do what I alluded to. And I think I see a lot of merit in that from like a rewarding you standpoint, because you're going to get some liquid assets because the cards will become liquid. From a burning DEC perspective, because you'll need to put DEC into those soul bounds to make them transferable. And then lastly, from a fresh carrot in front of you, because there's new reward cards exciting the community regularly. I think those are 3 great reasons why a shorter window for reward cards, a shorter window for the reward cards makes a lot of sense. But I can see, an argument. I could make an argument for why, Rick's point about spreading out the cards would be, valuable, helpful, in some sense preferable. That argument to me would look something like, the devs only have so much time. We're already stretched with some of the considerations around land, or we've heard so much talk about, for instance, what else? We've heard talk about the game pass, the season pass. We've talked about, people want draft mode tournaments. These are technological and like developer time constraints. And so if we start saying every 6 months we want 40 fresh cards, we where is that coming from? And then every time there's a new card, there has to be a thoughtful conversation around, is this power creep? Is this making other cards irrelevant? And I think they've navigated that concern well so far. But if we start rushing this process where we do 40 new cards every 6 months, that becomes more and more tricky, or more and more likely. I'm going to sprint through these last comments here, and then we'll move away from this conversation on the soulbound rewards and move into that conversation I saw Paul talk about earlier, which is the, I forget what it was, but we'll circle back over there. 3 to 6 months would be too small time period and all things that go into it. Yeah, maybe you're right. I mean, I can definitely see that point. I still think they need to make Soulbound permanent and always available indefinitely for new players. See, that's an interesting, and I know we've talked about this gathering. I like that idea. I also like the idea of them being made transferable through a cost commitment. Deus, good to see you, buddy. Paul, 3 gold foils in 1 pull is overkill. Yeah, that's probably true. But it doesn't necessarily, Paul's talking about that one person receiving a gold foil Uset, but recognize, is that what happened? Did they get 3 in 1 pull, or did they get 3 different chests over the course of 2 weeks, right? Because they get their daily rewards and then they get the season rewards. And some people get like 15 chests a day, and then they get, 80 chests at the end of the season. So it becomes different. And then again, across 200,000 accounts, it's like an increasing likelihood that it'll happen to somebody. Gathering is concerned about it too. Bobby, good to see you, buddy. We can start now. We'll circle back to the beginning for you, pal. We're just talking about those Soulbound reward cards. Deus, plot twist. The 2 that shared a birthday were identical twins. They were not. They were not. You guys should try that at a birthday party, at a party that you go to at some point. Like, just, you can, if you're, the 30 people that are there, 30, 40 people, you're going to find that like, just mathematically, it's very, very likely. Hang on. Suelis said something. Suelis, they will definitely adjust the print timeline as needed. Just look at how they terminated the last batch of reward cards. Yeah, exactly. It's a moving target. People don't like that it's a moving target, but it is. Eli says, I think people may be hyped up a bit more about the numbers for the rewards. I mean, think about it. Everyone's hurrying to post their great reward. Yeah. So certain people are really posting their super successful, turnouts. Yeah, that's probably true too. It's like when you look at Instagram, or social media, people post the best things that are happening to them. It's not like everybody's in vacation this week, but you see posts about people being on vacation, because that's what social media is. In the same way, Discord is going to be, when people are posting their rewards, it's either going to be a post of how crappy it was or how amazing it was. And you're not going to post that, that daily reward that was really meh or just okay. I think 43 is fine. They have to thought through the risks, considerations of doing 43 instead of 4. What are you talking about there? Eli, I post mine regardless. I opened 8 gold chests and got 30 point potions and I don't know what Sue else you're talking about there. Land proposal is off to a strong start. I like the idea of land starter packs, man. And Matt really made it seem like they were going to be super beneficial. I'm excited. I'm so excited for land. It almost needs its own like deep dive video for me with like an updated comment on where I'm at with land. But I'm so bullish for land, and what it could do for the broader economy of Splinterlands, like with DC burn mechanics and with, you know, creating these financial opportunities for landholders that are going to be this unique money printing experience. Like that probably sounds to a person who doesn't know this game, that would sound like, you know, some sort of like unrealistic statement, but that's what it is. You're going to be able to make these items and spells and these resources that nowhere else can, only the landholders. I'm so crazy pumped for that. I want more land. I've seen at least 15 separate 3x gold foils in a single chest. Wow. All I see are good EOS rewards on Twitter, Facebook. Yeah. One of which has 2x chests and 3x gold foil in one set daily. Wow. I'm actually liking the soul cards in battle. I'm surprised I was prepared to hate them. I'm enjoying them, but my experience is relatively minimal. There's only certain cards that I'm finding have, I guess, the chops to make it into my max level, you know, battles. Love them. This is it. Love the martyr ability on the Mark's Rat. I forget which one the Mark's Rat is. I use them all the time. I'm going to look them up here. But martyr is the one where it's like, yeah, I can really find a home for that. Is the Mark's Rat that neutral card? Yeah, the Mark's Rat. Yeah, I could see that. Especially in Noxious Fumes, right? You get him in there and he's going to die in the first turn, and then that's going to give you that buff that you're really going to like on certain key monsters. That's what I've been doing with over here with the fire. And I use the fire collar because it's got 4 hit points in opportunity first rule sets. I like to play this card between 2 cards I really like and trust. And then what you do is, of course, with this having 4 hit points, you got to make sure no other of your monsters have fewer than 4 hit points. If every other card you have has 5 or more hit points, the fire caller will be the opportunity target. And then you can usually trust, there are certain situations where it won't be true, but you can trust that it's going to die first and then it's going to give you that needed buff. For 5 mana, I like that. Now, that argument is even more accurate or more true with the Mark's Rat, right? Because the Mark's Rat has 2 hit points. And so, yeah, this is a great one. I like that.